Welcome to the Main Street Sports Podcast. I'm Cody, that's Kale, and we got a lot to talk about. First off, like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, share us with a couple of your friends, bring them along for the chaos that is happening in this season. Obviously, a lot has happened in the last 72 hours, so we probably won't hit as much on games tonight as more of the news that's kind of going around. We got a playoff poll coming out tomorrow. Just a lot happening over the weekend, and he got us started on Friday with Rhett Lashley, the SMU coach, getting a contract extension for, I believe, expanding him to 8 years now with SMU.
Yep, long-term extension and locking the dude up. I don't think he was a legitimate candidate for Arkansas in the first place, but that was kind of the threat for him with him being from there.
Yep.
I think SMU really kind of views themselves as a real player in the ACC on a yearly basis, and I think that kind of proved it by setting up themselves with Lashley.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good spot. I mean, SMU's got boosters, they got money, they got good atmosphere watching that game Saturday against Miami. In the playoff last year, they need some things to shake out for them to get into the ACC championship this year because they're going to be their only way in, having 3 losses already. But they've positioned themselves well, and Lashley's done a really good job.
Yeah, so one of the things I was talking, my dad was here over the weekend, and I was kind of talking to him about SMU during that Miami game, or he was kind of telling me, like, back in the day, before they got the death penalty, SMU was a pretty good program, and just kind of going down that whole story.
Yeah.
And you kind of, in recent years, you kind of just forget about that as a kid, like our age, because SMU has largely been nothing through our heyday of growing up and watching college football. And so, like, getting that perspective from somebody that was obviously older and stuff, like now they're coming back, but that's kind of a testament to how long it takes to recover from a death penalty.
Yeah.
Man.
Did you see that Craig James and Eric Dickerson were at the Miami game this weekend?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so bringing a couple of those guys from the Pony Express back. Obviously, they had a top 10 matchup with Miami, so you want to bring as much in as you can to help build up the atmosphere in the game, and boy, did they ever.
Yeah, that was quite the deal, especially, like, man, how bad has Carson Beck been?
Yeah.
Or maybe not,
was
maybe not bad, but, like, just not clutch.
His last 2 games have been bad.
Yeah. It's like, he has like 9 picks or something like that, and I can't remember what the stat was, but it was something funny because it was like he's got 9 picks and 8 something else, and I don't know, I can't remember. But he's also the highest. He's also one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the country. He's up over $4 million. So
yeah,
like, yeesh.
Well, it's a 1-year experience for Mario, and they'll move on.
Oh well, geez. Now that you mention Mario, it's like as an Oregon guy, you just kind of expect this. Like, it happened in Oregon. It's happened now twice in Miami with Cristobal. Like, you got all these players, but actually, it's kind of funny because, oh my gosh, Carson Beck came out and said something, kind of threw the coaching staff under the bus. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so he came out and said something in his press conference. Now, I guess I don't know if this is true, but it was reported that he, in quotations, that I just ran the plays that was called. I just tried to execute the plays that were called, and then it said, and there was an allusion to, like, they just kept calling the same thing over and over and over again. And I was like, when I read that, I was like, that's freaking Mario Cristobal to a T. Just freaking knuckles to the freaking, like, I'm freaking dragging my knuckles, and I'm stubborn, and just freaking, like, I'm gonna run this until it succeeds, like, because he's just that stubborn of a decision maker.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen it with Mario. Just beginning of the year, he's one of the best coaches in America every year, and then he just stubs his toe along the way and just can't finish it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
now, when you look ahead, I mean, Pitt's probably the hottest team in the ACC right now, and that's who they closed the season with at Pitt.
Right. Yeah. Like that's. I think, dude. Pitt's. I have Pitt potentially in like. I mean, they're in contention, man. Like, remember when I wrote them off after the West
Yeah.
Virginia game, and at the beginning of the year, I was like, watch out for Pitt to be a dark horse team. Now, I said it was going to be because of Eli Holstein, but they have been good since benching Holstein.
Yeah.
It's Heinschel, however you say it, Heinschel. I don't know how you say that, but Heinschel has been freaking really good for them, and they have been a scoring explosion the last few weeks.
Yeah. Another team we mentioned a couple weeks ago, and then they kind of fell on their face was NC State.
Yeah.
And NC State came out and went belt to ass on Georgia Tech, despite Haynes King throwing for 400 yards, rushing for another 100 yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 turnover, and Georgia Tech lost.
Yeah, dude, their defense is just not good. Like, it's too bad because the performances that Haynes King has kind of come up with, like, those are Heisman worthy freaking numbers, like just kind of like what we said for the last few weeks or since the beginning of the year. But man, it's like every time you looked at that score, and I didn't see any of that, but man, you kept looking at the score and it was like NC State is not getting stopped at all.
No.
Not even one drive. It was like Georgia Tech would score and then NC State go back and score. Georgia Tech would score, NC State would go back and score. Georgia Tech would get stopped once or twice and then NC State would score. Like, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it was crazy weekend in the ACC. SEC big news was Hugh Freeze getting fired, and it's one that we kind of saw coming. I think we both kind of thought the loser of that Auburn-Kentucky game, their coach was probably going to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
And still a good chance Mark Stoops does get fired from Kentucky by the end of the year. But, man,
Right.
That is now officially a quarter of the jobs in the SEC are open.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense, like how good the SEC thinks they are, yet the programs inside the SEC are like, we're not good enough to compete, I don't know.
So kind of the hot name I've been hearing the last 24 hours has been John Summerall from Tulane.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, like somebody's going to have to go poach him. I mean, I don't think he's going to be at Tulane next year with all this stuff opening up.
Yeah.
Like, he's a hot name. There's a name that, like, I don't know, like, you think of, like, Eric Morris being gone. You think of John Summerall being gone. You think of Ryan Silverfield being gone, like, and Alex Golish and all that stuff, like, I just don't. I mean, I don't know if all those guys are going to go to marquee schools, but I feel like they probably deserve it. Like, I don't know. Like, there's just not that many guys out there that are proven.
Yeah.
That at the Power 4 level, and considering like in comparison with the ones that are getting fired, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the big name for me, and I think it's 100% the way, if Wisconsin's to pull the trigger that they're going to go, would be Jason Eck down in New Mexico.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad one. I mean,
he played for Wisconsin.
Okay. Well, I did not know that. They have put together quite, like, decent year, after they just knocked off
UNLV. They're 6-2 now.
Yeah, so, like...
And one of those losses is a close one to Michigan at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and we kind of discredited Michigan for that, and it's like, well, but then New Mexico went and beat UCLA, too, like, not that that's a real... not a real thing as much as it... But... who knows? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna go to Nebraska, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's wild. He's obviously had a lot of success at Idaho in the FCS level. Now he's brought that to New Mexico. It'll just be if anyone's willing to pull that trigger since it's his first year at New Mexico.
Right, yeah.
Um, so we got the extension for Lashley and the Freeze firing, a little bit of ACC. Big news around here is Dylan Raiola, broken fibula, done for the year.
Yeah, dude, that's unfortunate. I mean, it's also one of those things that's kind of like you get a little bit of change of pace. You get to see a little bit what a game plan looks like without. I mean, because it's pretty well documented that Nebraska kind of gave Dylan the reins a little bit in terms of like decision making on the RPOs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, I fully expect that the decision's going to be made for Latif. Like, he's not going to be given the green light to be like, all right, we're going to run this, and just trust you. Like
that bobbled snap was a check play. He checked into the screen to Ja'Cory.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
and Ja'Cory was going to the house on that. There was nobody.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's unfortunate, like, gosh, but you look at the stats and it's like, I don't know, like you could try to throw it downfield and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just, you get thrust in there into a position you weren't expecting to be and all that kind of stuff as in a coaching staff perspective and as the kid, so I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's next man up mentality. I think TJ Latif will do a good job. I'm excited to see what a running quarterback can do in the offense. So I'm excited. Head to UCLA, 8:00 on Saturday, and see what happens. Now for USC, all of a sudden they're kind of back in the playoff picture if they can win out the season. Because they take down, they played themselves in to they're like in the 20th spot in the AP.
Mm-hmm.
They got to go to Oregon. If they win that Oregon game, they're going to be looking right at one of those lower numbered playoff spots.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because we have all this stuff, the season projections and all that. Like, gosh, there's so many teams that, like, if you win this one game, like, you're firmly in the mix. And like I think that with Pittsburgh, like, if they knock off Notre Dame this week, like, that's a game changer to the whole scope of the playoffs, And there's
what's Pittsburgh's record? 5-3?
No, they're 7-2.
7-2.
Yeah, like they're 6-2. They have 2 losses. They can finish 10-2 with wins over Notre Dame, another win over Miami because they play Notre Dame, Miami, and I think they play Louisville.
I know Louisville SMU's next week.
Yeah, so it's Pittsburgh has Georgia Tech. They would beat Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Miami. That's the next 3 games.
Yeah, they win those 3 games, they're a playoff team.
Yeah. Actually, when we get there, we'll talk about it. But yeah,
that's quite impressive little run they got to go on. The big game this week in the SEC. Oklahoma goes into Rocky Top and kind of gets owned as far as the stats, but they win the game. In like the first half, Tennessee had 17 first downs to Oklahoma's 3.
Yeah, so I didn't see a ton of this game because I thought that Oklahoma, originally, I thought they were dead to rights. Like, it took a while for them to kind of get going.
Yeah.
Am I right? Am I thinking right here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then they had that huge freaking game. Like, the only thing that they had going for them was that freaking return where the dude freaking pulled his hammy or pulled his quad or whatever he
Yeah,
pulled, and
yeah,
he was like trying to run out of bounds, and his teammates were like, "No, no."
yeah, yeah.
So like that was kind of a neat thing. Like so, yeah. Um,
Another one in the SEC. Sorry, I was just looking that up real quick. Texas gets out to a 31-14 lead, 31-7 lead on Vandy, going to the fourth
mm-hmm.
quarter, and Vandy gets it to within 3, and is kicking a onside kick to get the ball back to go down and win the game.
Yeah, dude, like that's crazy. That was crazy because like Texas was up 34-14
Yeah,
and
I
like
think it was 34-7 at one point.
oh my gosh, like yeah, it's just that's abysmal. Like
Yeah,
I just thought there's no way Vandy's gonna even come back. Like you just don't think that that's possible. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, like you look over and all of a sudden, oh gosh, they're onside kicking to try to
yeah,
come back and potentially win this.
yeah,
Like what happened? So that was another one. The whole thing with this like YouTube TV and ESPN and stuff thing, it was a weird thing for me this weekend because I didn't get to watch a ton of games. Probably partly because my folks were here, so we were all just kind of on the main TV watching on a different device and this kind of thing. So I didn't have like my command center, so to speak, like playing one on the main and 4 on the other TV and catching like. So I honestly like I don't have good commentary for this week because I missed a ton of stuff.
yeah.
So
Now, there was a lot of good games this week. We hit on West Virginia earlier. They go down to Houston and take out number 22 Houston, and like this whole West Virginia, they're kind of like Cal, where
mm,
they'll come in and they'll get a big win, and then they just kind of lay down for a couple of weeks. Then they come back and get a big win, and good on Rich Rod. They get a ranked win over Houston, and it just kind of knocks Houston out of the Big 12 race, and
right.
kind of a 3-team race now left in the Big 12.
Yeah, so I think that it's gonna ultimately be between like, well, obviously BYU
Yeah.
and obviously Texas Tech. And then it's kind of like a weird deal. Like you can have some weird stuff like if BYU was to lose to Texas Tech and then drop one maybe at Cincinnati
Yeah.
and then Texas Tech were to like gosh, they'd have to lose to like Texas Tech's schedule on the way through here is BYU, UCF, and West Virginia. That's it.
Well, got to watch out for West Virginia.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they just knocked off Houston, which I mean, the
Yeah.
jury's still out on what that was all about. But like, I don't know. I mean, basically BYU and Texas Tech, unless you're thinking that Utah's got a shot
They don't have a shot at the Big 12 championship because they would need Texas Tech or BYU
to
to have
lose
3 losses.
twice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that.
But as an outside playoff contender,
I think they might. I think they might get in.
yeah,
If they win out, actually, I think they're gonna go. I think they're gonna get in based on what I have projected. But you know, we'll see.
yeah, they put a hurting on Cincinnati this weekend. 45-14.
Yeah, that was an arse kicking.
Yeah.
So
It was good to see. That's kind of the main ones that stuck out. Everything else pretty much went well. We do got to hit on one game. North Texas gives Navy their first loss of the year
hmm
and did it in pretty good fashion.
yeah, North Texas. Like I said, I didn't think that Navy's defense was good enough, and like it proved to be not.
Yeah,
Plus the efficiency of Mestamaker and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it's just they're good, man. Like, but they are in a bad spot. They are in a bad spot because I think they're gonna go 11-1.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be sitting there on the outside looking in because South Florida has that win over them.
Yeah.
Like, South Florida does not, I mean, South Florida, I was kind of like, well, can UTSA also beat South Florida after just beating Tulane? And, like, I don't know the answer to that. It's in South Florida. You know, like, I don't think Navy's going to do it. Then otherwise it's UAB and Rice, which I just don't see that happening. So, like, it looks as if it's going to be Memphis and South Florida. Now, if Tulane beats Memphis this week, then you're looking at North Texas potentially having a chance and probably getting the nod because Tulane would have more losses. They'd be
In the
10-2.
American.
Yeah, well, not in the American because it'd still be a tiebreaker. It'd be South Florida, North Texas, Tulane at that point. And North Texas didn't play Tulane. They played South Florida. South Florida does not play Tulane, so I don't know how that looks, but I would hope that it'd be North Texas, but
Well,
I guess.
Navy, with their tough schedule they have left, I mean, Memphis, North Texas went out. They're in the American Championship.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. Like, it's just going to be one of those things where you need this week to kind of paint the picture a little bit more because of this Memphis Tulane matchup.
Yeah.
And then I see Memphis. If Memphis wins, then I think, well,
ECU still hanging around.
yeah, I don't have them on my sheet because I kind of forgot about them. They play, like, Memphis has the toughest schedule going back through. It's Tulane at ECU and then Navy.
Yeah.
So, like, I have Memphis going 12-1 and winning that conference. I have them beating South Florida again.
Yeah.
Because I think that Brandon Lewis would be a little bit more healthy in that regard as well, rather than hobbled in the last game and they still won.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thoughts on that?
It's interesting. It's exciting. Yeah, I'm fully invested in the American Conference. It's going to be a fun finish.
I know, right?
Do you want to do playoff predictions first or top 30 first?
Let's do top 30.
All right.
Here's the top 30. If you follow us on Facebook, you've already seen this, but if not, here they are.
Yeah, Ohio State and Indiana remain 1 and 2. The top 6 remain the same. Then you got Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Notre Dame rounding out the top 10. Mm-hmm. At 11, Virginia, followed by Oklahoma, Georgia Tech, Utah, and Texas. Georgia Tech doesn't really drop a whole lot. 15, USC, Michigan, Louisville, Miami, and Vanderbilt. At 21, a couple more Big Ten teams with Iowa, Washington, and then Missouri, Cincinnati, and Memphis. And then the bonus 5, you have Tennessee, San Diego State, Pitt, JMU, and SMU. What kind of sticks out to you here?
Well, I think it's kind of the influx of the G5 teams, finally making their way into this top 30. I think it took us a while to kind of let that happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I really think it's those. I think even though Oregon's sitting at 6 for us, I had them behind Ole Miss. Like, I personally think it's those top 5 plus Ole Miss and maybe Notre Dame. But that's if Notre Dame doesn't beat Pitt, then they're done.
Yeah.
I think in terms of national title, I think those top 5 are pretty tough. I think Ole Miss is right there. I don't know what I'm very intrigued by BYU.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna play great defense.
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of one of them. They're an overwhelming team, similar to the way that Iowa plays. Like great suffocating defense, and then they just kind of freaking chip at you and chip at you and chip at you.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old Stanford way. Washington is going to be kind of interesting. If they run the table with that schedule at the end, like they're going to be hot.
Yeah.
Like that's one that I think that you're winning at the right time. You might get the nod to get in there at a low seed.
Yeah.
So, but you got some ACC things that still need to happen to kind of like we'll go through it when we get there, but yeah, the San Diego State thing and JMU, like they've got arguments, but right now it's Memphis's to lose in terms of the G5. San Diego State's defense is freaking ridiculous. Have you seen the stats on them?
No.
I don't think they've given up 100 points yet all year.
And they gave up, 35 to Cal?
Yeah.
No. They beat Cal 30-0. I was thinking of the whole Cal San Diego State thing that was going on at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think San Diego State lost to Washington State, didn't they?
I'm not positive.
I'm looking it up right now. So, because San Diego State, they've only given up 80 points all season.
Yeah.
They've given up half of that's in conference. So they lost to Washington State game 2. But then the next week they beat Cal 34-0.
Yeah.
And then they beat Fresno State 23-0, who just beat the piss out of Boise
without Maddox Madsen.
Well, true, but still, Fresno State still scored 30 points against the defense of Boise. That's kind of what I'm looking at there. I don't know, San Diego State, they just don't have enough of a resume.
Yeah.
Because of the way that we're looking at the American. And James Madison's largely in the same boat, but I don't James Madison has to play Washington State yet.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an interesting dynamic there too, don't you think?
Yeah.
Where it's comparing San Diego State with them, although Washington State's also fresh off a loss against freaking Oregon State.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's crazy. The G5's nuts.
Yeah, I love it.
So, yeah, me too.
The one with me was Georgia Tech. Obviously benefited by a lot of teams losing around that 8 through 15 range, so they don't drop too much.
Yeah. Yes.
And then otherwise, I feel like it's pretty. I'm happy with where it's at.
Yeah, I mean it looks like it's kind of just starting to take shape. It doesn't look like there's any egregious. Texas is kind of that weird one that we dropped them clearly out, and now they're back in the top 15 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
But I mean that looks a little odd. But otherwise, Michigan's holding steady, and South.
I think Missouri's going to be the one team that will probably fall off here by the end of the year.
Because of Pribula freaking being Dunzo is not.
They got A&M and Oklahoma still on their schedule.
Yeah, I think I only ranked Missouri as number 30, or maybe not at all, because
you put Tennessee 30.
Okay, well then I dropped Missouri out because of that injury to Pribula, so kind of preemptive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting times.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go your playoff first or mine?
We can go with mine, so that way we can end with your graphic, because I don't have a graphic up.
All right.
So, basically, what I went with was I'm just gonna go with the top to the bottom. Ohio State at 13-0. Number 2, I have Alabama at 12-1. I have them winning out and winning the SEC. I have Indiana at 12-1 at number 3. I have Texas A&M at 12-1, only lost to Bama in that title game at 4. Then you get into Georgia Ole Miss 5-6. Texas Tech 7 as the Big 12 champ at 12-1. Pittsburgh as the ACC champ at 11-2 at number 8. Now here's where it gets crazy. I have Iowa at 9 going 10-2. I have them winning out. I have BYU at 10 at 11-2, Utah at 11 at 10-2, and then Memphis at 12-1 at number 12. My first, I put 8 teams right there, like my next 8 out: San Diego State, Washington, Virginia, Louisville, Oklahoma, Michigan, James Madison, and Notre Dame.
Nice.
So that's kind of where I'm at. So
Yeah.
let's hear yours, because I know you have some good talking points.
Yes. So I went with Alabama as the one, as the SEC champ,
Mm-hmm.
and Ohio State 2 as the Big Ten champ. Now, here's the very first talking point I'm going to have. Well, we'll go with this. Indiana 3 is the Big Ten runner-up. Georgia, number 4, is the SEC runner-up.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some shady shit that's going to happen where they're going to jump the SEC over the Big Ten to try and get matchups accordingly so that they
Okay.
don't have a theoretically all Big Ten or all SEC final.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
I mean, I could see it happening. Like the whole idea, the whole. No, I don't think you want to have an all conference, all same conference national
Yeah.
title, but that might not even be possible to avoid, because if you have 4 teams, then you're gonna have to have 2 on each side anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're not gonna put all 4 on the same side, so there's still should be a chance of it. And honestly, with the way that the SEC has been, any of those 4 teams at the top of the SEC are, I mean, there's not much separation between those
Yeah.
4. So if you think that one of them is a national title contender, then probably the other 3 are.
Yeah.
Like I think so. I don't see how all 3 would not be, or all 4 would not be. But what do you think?
Yeah. It's hard telling. So you got teams like Ole Miss who doesn't have anything left on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get into the rest of my bracket real quick so I can explain where I went. 5, Ole Miss. 6, Texas Tech is the Big 12 champ. 7, Texas A&M. 8 is Oregon, followed by Georgia Tech at 9. 10,
Mm-hmm.
Washington. 11, Texas. 12, JMU. And to get this to where the way I got it with the SEC championship and Texas and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas loses to Georgia here in a couple next week, but
Okay.
upsets A&M at the end of the year to knock A&M out of the SEC championship, putting Georgia back in, and then that vaults Texas up to get that 11 seed. I think Washington wins out with the win over Oregon at the end of the year to play themselves into the playoff.
Yeah. So
Then,
did you see that I didn't have Oregon even in the next 8. I had Washington, so I actually have Washington beating Oregon as well,
yeah, so
because it's
you
in
have them losing to
Seattle.
Iowa and Washington,
Yeah, like complete utter freaking failure.
and you laughed when I said overhyped at the beginning of the year for Oregon.
It's kind of interesting how that's working out in your favor,
Not
because
complete,
they do not have a good resume.
yeah, um, yeah, because a couple of those have looked great, and a couple of those are like, yeah, must have been talking out of your ass, Cody.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, we'll have to revisit that at the end of the year to see how everything turned out. But I do think there's going to be a lot of chaos at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's one game that I think could be real sneaky that could blow everything up.
Okay.
Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Okay.
Mississippi State's been very close in a lot of games this year. With that rivalry, if Mississippi State can pull that off, there's going to be some wacky stuff that goes down.
Yeah, that's a good. That's kind of like I don't know. Like, I mean, just you just have to imagine that some of that stuff, like with all the rivalries and stuff, is gonna throw shit, like throw some crap into the,
Yeah.
like bring some teams back in that
Yeah.
didn't think they were in. Like, the whole thing about 2007 we keep talking about,
Yeah.
and ultimately, there was another year that was just like 2007 that doesn't get talked about a lot.
21.
Oh, one.
Okay. Yeah. There was 01 too, but
Because
21 was a lot like that too.
all that stuff after Nebraska lost to Colorado, like it all happened on one weekend.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like these things had to happen for Nebraska to be vaulted back into number one or number two.
Number two. Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, the combination of those things could be in play here this year with how everything's been going.
Yeah. With the coaching carousel going on, and Pate brought
Yeah.
up a good point last night. You have so many coaches being talked about for other jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest name being talked about is Lane Kiffin, and all they do is just keep winning and kind of taking it to teams along the way.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, like, I don't know, man. I just like, I'm just flabbergasted because I have so many thoughts on the idea that I just am not happy with the idea. Kind of what you brought up with the shady stuff,
Yeah.
and so I'm kind of like been thinking about some of that. Like, I just don't, I don't want. I'm not a fan of how certain things are in play. Like I've been talking about tiebreakers in the ACC and how a lot of things are to protect certain brands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've been like, and now you kind of brought into that idea that like some stuff you're nervous that some stuff's going to happen to help teams or conferences in playoffs, and like that's why I think that Joel Klatt just is like spot on when he's talking about like there has to be a specific criteria and to have access to the playoff or expand it. But if it's at 12, there has to be some sort of set criteria that gets required teams in. You can't have, to me, I don't think you can have 8 at-larges with no specific criteria or whatever it is, right? Is it 7? 7 at-larges or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think you should probably have an at-large those spots be a smaller number. Like, if you finish top 2 in the Power 4 conferences, you're in. After that, then
Yeah.
we're get the next 4 spots. Those are at larges. We'll compare conference strength at that point. But if you
I
make
do
a conference
think
title game, you should just be in.
I do think a lot of it will get handled next year with
Mm-hmm.
the ACC and SEC adding that 9th game,
Sure.
and then Big Ten. Most teams already play a Power 5 team. It just isn't implemented as a rule. I think that will happen,
Mm-hmm.
just so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
But I think that'll take care of a lot of stuff because, like we talked about the ACC, a lot of those teams just don't play each other.
Right. And that's part of the. I mean, you have 17 teams and you only have 8 games, so
Yeah.
it's like okay.
Be a lot easier next year. But for this year, we get to have fun. We get to look at all the craziness going on in all 4 conferences and
Yeah.
figure out which way the committee's going to go with the whole Big Ten SEC bias that seems to already be put out there.
Yeah, I agree. So.
All right, well, that'll do it for the show. Like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you.
Hey, repeat yourself.
Like, follow, subscribe. We'll see you at the end of the week.
There you go. That was a little clearer.
Okay.
See you later, y'all.